conversation with the superintendent and staff under the emergency provisions of closed session. And so with that, we are going to go ahead. Ms. Mayo will be joining us momentarily. I think she will be on mute, but she will be listening in and not participating. But if everyone will join me, please, in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Some days.
Linda, can you hear me? Linda, can you hear me? Oh, I see. All right, we'll start with roll call, knowing that Ms. Mayo is there but on mute, and then Ms. Count.
Here.
Ms. Mason.
Here.
Ms. Durkee.
Here.
And Mr. Lawrence is also here. And I have one additional comment card from Annie.
Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm hoping you're going to cover every thing.
That's our goal.
So ask me after you're done.
Okay. So, in closed session, the superintendent shared some of the measures that had been taken, sought some guidance from the board, but largely I'm going to turn it over to the superintendent now to share some of the action items that are already in place, some of what is to come, and then there will be discussion because, as I mentioned earlier, I think many of the questions raised, we will do our best to answer the ones that we can, but some of them we will ask the questions ourselves and say we will need to continue to look at these and have communication because our board, much like everyone else, does not have all the answers at this time and we're looking to other folks. So with that, Dr. Martinez.
Good afternoon, everybody. What we want to do is walk through several of the logistical situations that we're looking at in relation to our school closure, specific to, again, coronavirus COVID-19. And much of what we've been focused on is, again, using all of the materials that we have at our access from the state of California, federal government guidance, Centers for Disease Control guidance, county public health, our own county Office of Education, and trying to understand the full dynamics here of how the coronavirus is impacting not only our students, but their families, our employees, and our communities. So while I understand, again, much of the anxiety that is out there for individuals, for families, for parents concerned about their students, for even our own employees, we are working seriously to make sure that we have the best information we have in order to make decisions for our students, again, their families, our community, our employees. We did call for the closure of our schools effective March 17th, 2020. What I want to let you know is that at this point in time, our anticipated duration of the closure is being extended through Thursday, April 2nd, 2020. Some have called for, a week or 2 weeks. We believe this is an appropriate decision based upon the 13 days that are considered school days between Tuesday and Thursday, April 2nd. We are looking at then our spring break, which is the following week. While some districts have decided to try and adjust and move and coordinate differently, given the parameters of, again, 13 days with no students and then having that spring break, we believe that provides our community with an additional set of days for, again, hopefully better circumstance to be present, and that we hope to have everybody back at our schools on April 13th, 2020. That would be after the spring break. Again, we can all hope for that and plan for that, and we will see how things play out in the future. One of the important parts of our school system, of course, is in the care of our children. And food is one of those essential...
I can't hear you. Are you speaking in the microphone?
On speaker, I'm sure.
One of the items of significance is, again, our food service for our students. Our food and nutrition department is working to identify 8 locations at this present time where we will have meals for students. We will post this information on our website, but I will give you the names of those locations right now. The locations are Cambridge Elementary School, Meadow Homes Elementary School, Ignacio Valley High School, College Park High School, El Dorado Middle School, Riverview Middle School, Foothill Middle School, and Mount Diablo High School. We will have the program that I believe will start in the morning so that students may come to pick up food, or their parents may come more specifically to pick up food. We will have the times again posted on our website so that everybody is clear about the specific opportunities that they can come to, in essence, receive curbside service, so that our food and child and nutrition department will be there providing the food. Similar to a summer feeding program, what we are doing is that, in essence, we want to provide food for any child that appears to be one of our students, 18 and under, if not even 19, quite frankly. We're going to provide you food. There'll be some opportunities for food to be delivered, I believe, or to be received at lunch, which could even contain breakfast for the next day, so that, again, people can receive multiple meals even in this part of the process. So again, we know that there are a wide number of students and families who count on these meals for their children, and again, our child and nutrition department will be working to provide that sustenance. It's very important. I'm going to talk about a couple of other areas just to help clarify our process. We are looking also, and this was actually a great new idea, we're going to look to see if we can have access to some library books for students as they come and actually pick up some food. These are the types of creative ideas that we're going to need right now to continue educational opportunities for our children. So we'll be looking to have that occur as well. As far as our plan for employees, and I'll say it again, I have not seen any new notices that we have any confirmed cases of coronavirus in any of our schools by a student or staff member at this time. We have no new information from public health. Well, we have had some concerns about particular school sites and exposure. Again, our maintenance and operations crews are taking significant care in deep cleaning, in hazardous cleaning, so that we are taking care of those sites. So on Monday specifically, Monday has been a designated professional development day for our certificated employees, and for many of our classified employees, it continues to be a work day. And for some of our other classified employees, it is a day that they wouldn't normally work, though there was a planned professional development for some of the classified service. At the present time, we have postponed that classified professional development that was scheduled for Monday. We will not be holding that particular day, so the classified service that would have normally not worked on Monday should not go to the professional development. It is not occurring, and we are finding another day later in the summer after the school year to hold that particular training. We have provided information to our principals and to our certificated staff about Monday's planned professional development day. Given the opportunities that, or the difficulties that we have in not having students, we are asking, and we have already sent this information out, that our certificated personnel, primarily our teachers, who would be at their school sites, work at their school sites, if be in their classroom, if be in small groups with their principals, starting to now think about the educational opportunities that they can provide to students during this duration where students will not be able to come to our campuses. We want them to think about and explore alternatives for online learning. And I want to be clear, we are not setting a hard expectation at this point in time because we are sensitive to the dynamics of working with our Medea group and having those conversations. But we also know, out of the best intent of our teachers, that they want to have some form of education continue for our students. So we believe if they come on Monday, again, we have no accounts of any instances of corona on our sites, and they are working together to start planning different ideas, different ways to connect, different uses of technologies. We'll have a productive day so that the teachers, in working together, could come up with some other ideas to support our students during this difficult time. We know that they can do great work. And at the same time, for any of our employees who do believe that they are placing themselves, again, at any significant risk, then they have to make that personal choice at this point in time. And there's ways that they can do that with their employee organization contracts. What we will do is that on Monday, again, I hope to meet with Medea and sit down and have conversations about the remaining days of our closure to students. While some might say it would just be best to completely not have anybody work, we do need to make sure, as some folks have said tonight, that we have clean schools, that we are taking the steps to make sure that things are sanitized. And quite frankly, we wouldn't want to bring in other people to do that work other than our own custodial group, maintenance group, folks to do that work. So for our groups there, we also need to reach out, and we'll have some conversations, hopefully on Monday, about what those parameters are, so that they feel confident and competent in what they'll be doing during this work time. And I do want to tell you, this is all predicated right now on the information that we have from the state and from our county. You will hear that there are other counties who have been formally quarantined at this point in time, where they are not allowing employees to come to work except for several essential people. That is not where we are in Contra Costa County at this point in time. We have not been quarantined or limited from having employees come to work. We are tracking, again, levels of attendance so that any student who up until this point in time has been away from our campus for, again, concerns related or any fears related to the coronavirus are being tracked as part of a concern for pandemic. We are not individually looking at extending any independent study options and long-term situations for students, because now, as we've reached this level of closure and working to, again, track what we are doing for everybody, we wouldn't have individual things going on. Somebody mentioned our transportation department. Our transportation department does have some obligations with other agencies, and so we are looking at maintaining and continuing that if the other agencies are still transporting children. Again, so we need to make sure with each one of those organizations, are they maintaining those services? What we are hearing is that most of the private schools are closing as well. Any of the schools that are considered non-public schools. But for our individuals within the transportation department, we will have them continue. They do have responsibilities at the transportation yard, so we'll have them continue in that work and offer clarity again to the specific bargaining groups. We do have business relationships with other agencies that are on our campuses. Some are daycare providers that provide morning, afternoon services. And we are working with them to ensure that any of these daycare providers or businesses on our campuses are in alignment with what we are doing as a district. It wouldn't be conceivable for us to say, well, we are not going to have classes, but we're going to have large groups of children coming together in these daycare situations. So we are working and advising them of that situation. We are working to, again, address any concerns for our employees with regards to workers' comp or any kind of additional cleaning costs that we may incur as a district. And we are also looking to address timelines for potential special education issues and or any federal funding issues. There are many obligations that we have as a district that won't be accomplished in this difficult time. But we have to work with our federal government to do that. One of the big things that we are talking about, again, is these ideas about continuing educational opportunities for students. And again, while we're waiting for our state to give us clarity, this is a time of opportunity for us to think about how we can connect with students differently, while not, again, making demands on our certificated group. We see it as an opportunity for them to be creative. Some have mentioned Google Hangouts, which is one way to communicate using technologies. Some have mentioned using online platforms, Khan Academy, for example. An individual has mentioned that Comcast is in essence offering free basic service to individuals to connect to the internet. We've got to get that information out because many of our families are not connected right now. And if they're not connected, this becomes an avenue to connect. Though that still may take some time to get them connected. So we're approaching this from the form of being as equitable as we can with a variety of opportunities. We may have some teachers who get together on Monday and say, you know what, let's give all of our third graders this particular assignment for the next 2 weeks. And let's have them do this and send home this and get something online. That's the kind of creativity we need to design so that our students feel some security at the same time they're being told they cannot come to school. And that could be a very terrifying thing for our little ones and even our high school kids. So it's being as compassionate as we can and yet providing some level of assurance that education will continue for them, that we want them to continue reading, writing, working on their math, being creative, drawing, taking pictures of things and sending them to us on social media. We want to enhance every opportunity that we can for our students, and we will get through this together. Part of the concerns, of course, are very specific that we've heard. When will the quarter end? Will my grades be affected? Will we extend the year? And many of those questions we're going to have to work on. We don't have those exact answers yet. And part of that will be the guidance that we do receive from the California Department of Education and the state of California. Right now, we are working under some presumptions, and those presumptions are that when we have been forced to force closings of schools, in essence, due to fire, smoke, power outages, those types of things, we do have a waiver opportunity from the state where we can basically say, because of that situation, do not harm our students by more cuts to our revenue. And so we are going to be taking the full advantage that we can in this area of pandemic, which is one of those causes where we can create that waiver. And so it's not lost upon us that if we do not lose funding, if we have the dollars that are intended for education to go on, services to be provided to students, that we don't want to have our employees suffer because of that the best we can, especially our contracted employees who have obligations as well. But we also want to make sure that we don't incur additional costs by telling everybody to stay home, but then we still need to have people come back to do some work because we've got to still be prepared. So again, our intent right now is that we're closed for 13 days. We will then have spring break, and we are hoping for very good news. What we plan to do as a district is continue to provide updates at a minimum every week over the next couple of weeks so that people know with clarity On Friday of next week, we have extended, or we have continued, in essence, our closure and giving updates. What I do anticipate is probably giving you more information sooner than that, however, because we want our public to know after Monday, here are some of the things that you can expect, because our teachers are saying we do want to do this and can do this, and we're helping to provide support to our families. Our classified employees, here's the things that they'll be doing and the work that we'll be also doing. It's also not lost upon us that some of our best plans could change depending on what happens across the county with responding to the actual coronavirus. One of the big aspects was, again, spreading the community or stopping community spread by not having large groups gather. So we're very sensitive to that, and that's what started part of our process of limiting all the different activities, bands and activities for banquets and even a junior prom and those types of things. Very difficult for our students to endure, for our families to endure, and yet again, we do have to do our part as a school community, and that's what we're trying to do. So I'm not going to go on and on, though I did go on and on a little bit, sorry. But I also want you to all realize the deep thought that has gone into this, not just by me. It has been a great team of individuals out there, and I really say great team, including our teachers, our classified staff, our administrators, our principals, our students. The student that came today, absolutely on point. On point. The decisions we make here do impact and connect to our students, and we have to be aware of them and supportive of them. It is about students first. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to the board. Again, we will work. We do have a number of our administrative team here to try and answer if there's further specific questions. But I will tell you, we will continue to work very hard to get information out through social media, through email, sharing decisions that we can make for our students.
So I will take comments if anyone, I know I have to, not yet, but if people have comments, they can give them to Austin over here. If they fill out a yellow card, I will still take comments. I do have two other people who submitted board comments, so I will read those momentarily. But prior to doing that, I wanted to open up for board comments or questions.
It was mentioned the task force, and I think a question came up, and I neglected to ask you that my question. So if you could talk a little bit more about that for who it is.
Sure. So again, really this was a move from our cabinet. What we do have by way of structure is an executive cabinet, which includes the assistant superintendents, the executive directors, our general counsel, and our executive cabinet. So of course we've been having a lot of meetings in that for other reasons. Partly we also have a cabinet group, which includes then a number of our classified managers, transportation, child and food nutrition, technology, various areas of that. So there's a broader group. As part of our cabinet level conversations, we actually started thinking about isolating some of the big points that we were looking at focusing on, and so we did pull in, I'll tell you, I was not able to be at all of those given all the other conversations that I was having this week, but in essence was our we actually included one of our school nurse leads, I believe, in this meeting. Student Services Department, again, Chief Business Officer was present. Special Education representatives were there. Our educational component, instructional support, each of our elementary and secondary divisions were there as well. And really the focus was started on what do we know about everything? What are the components we have to take a look at? Much of the information that has come out to the public, because we wanted to have consistent messaging for the way of looking at our responses, giving information back to the principals, back to our community, back to social media, back to the email. We also had, again, many documents that we have here that were reviewed by the team, and in essence started crafting out, these are the things that we have to think about in this response. We don't have that risk manager on board just yet, but this would be one of those big things that sometimes you have that. Our communications specialist, again, was also tangentially involved in, again, crafting part of the announcements that went out. And aligning differently. As I mentioned to you, I was on a number of conference calls this week with county superintendent, public health. I would continue to bring information back in so that they continue to do their work. So it was a very dynamic group focused on trying to get information out together.
Other board questions, Ms. Mason?
I'd just like to thank all of the staff, and the students and the parents that have emailed us and come out. This is a unique situation. None of us have been in it before. We're all going to work together to get through it. And hopefully at the end of the day, it'll be one of those things where like, wow, it wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. But appreciate your patience and your input, because we're all trying to do what's best by our kids.
Ms. Cowan?
Yes, I agree with all of that. I think that it's been incredible, the feedback and ideas that have come to us from the entire community, and a special thank you to all the staff that worked to put together this plan. It's fantastic to see all of the pieces coming together, because I know there's been concern about how will we feed the students, and seeing that that plan is in place and is coming together is just really fantastic work. Really appreciate that. Even as far as the creativity of thinking about how do we get books out to our students during this time. I know one of the librarians I saw tweeting today about unlimited checking out of books at her library. So I can see everybody really coming together as a team. I had two questions to ask about. One is, and I think this came from the community as well, as we're communicating about coronavirus, can we make sure to include tools and messaging around anti-racism? There have been a couple of toolkits that have been shared with us. One from Contra Costa Health Services has a page on their website that's the Anti-Stigma Toolkit, with messaging that people can post on social media for the general public and for our teachers and students to understand that coronavirus does not recognize race, and that's an important piece, I think, because there's a lot of misinformation out there, and people are being targeted and bullied as a piece of that. So one question around anti-racism, and then the other is thinking about our homeless students. I know that we have had gift card and donation drives with our HOPE program, over the holidays. I'm wondering if that might be something, in the works or possible to be doing at this time to make sure that our homeless students may have additional resources beyond the food and the books that we might be able to provide, as their families might be going through even more difficult times.
Again, I appreciate the feedback and the information, and I would say yes, we can get the information about anti-racism and add that as part of our communication process for sure. And again, the idea about working directly for our homeless youth, potential foster youth and such, who may be even more significantly impacted during this time, we'll work with our student services department and see what we can put together as far as potentially getting access to other items they might need during this time. So we'll work towards that.
So you talked extensively about the opportunity for our classroom teachers, and then we also have counselors too, and that's been brought up, and we've all expressed concerns about students that might need access. And so I would think, on Monday there would be that opportunity as well for some creative solutions of creating access for students that need help and need some additional support.
That's a great point. I believe our counselors are gathering together as well on Monday. Several of the different groups, special education usually gets together again, so they'll be doing that in smaller groups. And that reminder again that even though we will have employees at a school site, keeping those groups very small is a very important thing for us. But the counselors will be gathering, and I believe they'll be able to come away with some ideas on how to coordinate or support.
So I'll take a moment to partly share some of the background of how we arrived here. For those of you who are with us at 2:30 in the morning on Tuesday, we didn't know the week would get even more exciting. And really the burden of that fell on the superintendent, on staff, on our teachers, on our SEAs, on our bus drivers, on just throughout our district, food, maintenance and operations, everything that has fallen on our district in a week unlike any other. We have such, I think, speaking on behalf of the board, we have such appreciation for the efforts and the fact that people were viewing this through the lens of how do we best help our students. I will note that, to my knowledge, not a single designated state or designated county health official has yet even recommended the closure of schools, which is something that is rather shocking to me. In fact, we were receiving the opposite information, which was that schools should remain open as long as possible. Until yesterday, to my knowledge also, only one district in California had shut down schools. There were some individual schools that had shut down, but only one district, which was Elk Grove, which shut down for 1 week and did not appear to have much of a plan as to what was going to happen after that week. Even on Monday night, we did have conversation around this very topic. We knew something might be coming. The superintendent and I were in touch on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday evening, we decided to call the special meeting. We worked with the board to find a time, and then arrived at this one. Obviously, things were fast moving. Other districts, starting with San Francisco, started closing schools yesterday, but we're all closing. It seems like everyone's closing schools on the same effective date, which is today. And so even though we mentioned, since for us Tuesday is the first day back in the classroom that our students would miss, we're ending instruction here today. The same as every other district other than Elk Grove that I know of that has closed things to date. As we go into the unknown, one of the things we talked about in closed session is that we want to make an assumption of good intent, that we are assuming everyone is operating in the best interest of our students. So that is how we are looking to work with our bargaining units. That's how we're looking to take some risks here in terms of extending ourselves with an assumption of good intent on the part of the state and federal government. We will need their support. We will need their help. We are assuming that they will not be unduly punishing students and school districts for us putting those students first and focusing on the safety of our children. So we appreciate everyone as they bear with us through this difficult time, but that's a little of the perspective of how we arrived here. So do we have any other board comment or questions? And I guess the last piece I would say is, in order to close the district, it's not as simple as saying, okay, schools are shut down, and making sure the many pieces, and the superintendent just touched on some of them, but the thought and planning that goes in to make sure that this is as seamless as possible and our students are still protected. So thank you for that. So let me go ahead. I have 2 other emails that are received, so I'll just read them. Keisha Nzui emailed, members of the board, I applaud the difficult decision to close our schools, doing our part in the community to protect those most at risk for losing their lives from COVID-19 and preventing an overwhelming rate of infection so that our medical facilities can adequately treat those in need. School closure will be hard on students, their families, faculty, and staff, but whatever the consequences, they are all better than untimely deaths. I urge the board, in partnership with the superintendent and school site leadership, to take lessons from the school districts that have announced their closing earlier, to develop plans for feeding children, providing assistance for those families with child care challenges. Cocoa Kids is a good resource, and providing continued at-home learning options for all students. The other comment was from Pete Fuller. Bravo on making a tough decision. As long as we are not doing general testing, we feel that sending our son to school is playing Russian roulette. Once the spike in cases pass and we can do large-scale testing, we will all feel safer. I don't fear the known cases. I fear those cases that don't know they have the infection, from Peter Fuller. So those were the additional public comment cards. And then I also have one from Dan Reynolds, and then one from Annie Nolan. So, Dan?
Thank you. Superintendent Martinez, when you made your comments about what was going to be happening on Monday as it related to certificated employees and that professional development, understood some of that, because one of the things that you said was that direction had been given to admin and to the teachers. Our members don't know what's happening on that day. They have not been given agendas for the most part, with the exception of something that was concerning to me, in that the principal at Ignatia Valley High School told his people that they need to spend that day writing 13 days of lesson plans. And it is not acceptable to us to expect a teacher to write 13 full days of lesson plans for all of the subjects that they teach in 6.5 hours. It's not something that a teacher can do well in that short amount of time. And so I would encourage you to please, if there are things that the district expects our teachers to know about Monday, you need to make sure they know it, because most of them haven't heard anything. What they got yesterday was a 2-sentence message that said, there's not district-wide PD, go to your sites. That was not any specific data, and so they are still confused and anxious. And those who are getting some information, things like what's going on at YV, are not helping. And so more specific data, agendas about what's going on, and a plan to use an appropriate amount of time to do an appropriate amount of work as we move forward in this is going to be very beneficial. Thank you.
Andy?
Yes, I have some questions. I don't need a microphone. I have some questions. I think the Comcast thing is great, but the problem is, don't they have to go to everybody's house, set it all up? And if everybody's doing this, they probably wouldn't even get to half of them before. I mean, I know it's a great idea, but I don't know how feasible that really is, especially if it's already out there and other people are using it. And then we step in with our huge district. I mean, it's a great idea, that's not my problem. Okay, on the food, so does that start Tuesday? The food start Tuesday, or when does the food start? And is it free like summer school to all students, or just, okay, all students free starts Tuesday. Okay, the Dent office will be open, yes, no?
At the present time, yes.
Oh, okay, I was just wondering. And when you say classified, that encompasses a whole bunch of us. We are school day only employees when the kids are there. So what we don't go because there's no kids and not really anything? What do we do? What are my campus supervisors going to do?
Right, so again, I think what we need to do, Annie, is we need to sit down on Monday and have a conversation about what exactly the expectations are for your individuals. We're happy to do that. We want to do that.
A Monday, huh? Because we were going to send out this really big email come this afternoon because of the jillions of text messages, emails, and phone calls we've gotten. We'll tell you after 2 o'clock. You'll get an email after 2 o'clock. So just tell them, wow, sorry, I don't know. So
And your folks would not work on Monday.
No, I
So,
know that.
so if we have the ability to clarify the message on Monday, we'll be able to get that information out to them.
Oh, yep. All right. That's basically what I need to know. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a card from Jamie Molina.
Hello. Hi, sorry. I think I have 2 questions. In terms of the work that will or won't be given out to students, I wonder how mandatory or how optional that will be and how we will ensure equity from school site to school site about the work that will or won't be assigned to each school. And then if you could clarify what employees need to do if they feel that they shouldn't come to work.
Dr. Martinez, can I direct those questions to you? Yes, please. If you have it.
Well, so again, our process would be for work when students are not in session. What we anticipate, because again, some of this is anticipated, that the district will be receiving general average daily attendance. We're creating educational opportunities is what we hope for those students. However, the same level of accountability of them putting in particular hours and doing exact levels of work, we would not hold them to the same standard as if they received an assignment in class with a certain amount of time to do that work. So the short answer is no. There is no full expectation that you must complete an assignment for advancement in a grade when you're not actually coming to school. So that would be the short answer to that. The idea about not coming to work, again, for individuals at this point in time, we have not been under any kind of formal quarantine. So Monday specifically, if there are individuals who are expected to work, which would include everybody other than the classified employees who do not normally work when students are not present, they should follow general reporting process if they are ill, if they are in need of using their personal necessity. Whatever the standard reporting process would be, they should follow that process. What again I hope is that on Monday we are able to communicate with our groups about what the expectation would be for Tuesday. We have yet to clarify all of that because again we do need to sit down and talk. If there are options. Some districts are saying, well, students aren't here, but we do expect everybody to still come to work every day and do certain things. And I will tell you that we're very sensitive to not making demands based under information that we don't know just yet. Again, we are tracking the situation on the hour. And so come Monday, I think we'll have at least a weekend of time to have clarity from hopefully the governor, from the California Department of Education, from again what's happening with our own immediacy and public health. I've mentioned that again we know that there are several counties that have been put under quarantine because of increased, or at least one county I should say, one county that I know about has put an entire school district under a quarantine, which means that they're not allowing individuals to come to work at all, and they're demanding in essence people stay home and have confirmed that they will receive pay. That's because of public health has put that district under quarantine. We have not received that level of information about our district or anyone else in Contra Costa County. So it is a dynamic process, and so we'll work and have some more information on Monday and provide clarity to, again, our employees about what their expectation is for Tuesday and moving forward.
Priscilla, who has a last name that looks very lovely, but I'm hoping you'll pronounce it, because I'm guessing it'll sound much better than you, and then I will learn it for next time. Priscilla, come on down.
Hi. Good afternoon, Superintendent, members of the board, my colleagues and parents like me, of students of Mount Diablo Unified School District. I just have a question. Since we closed the schools to stop the spreading of germs and viruses, most of us parents of these kids are still close in contact with the public. I work in HR, other departments like fiscal services, student services, etc. help employees and parents with different issues. Okay, since we closed the schools, are we going to close the offices too? Some employees say that we're not immune to diseases and viruses. Why do we have to still come to work? I've heard people say that. So probably people are panicking. You know, it's normal. We may not even know it, but we could be carriers. So what I'm trying to say is we're still in close contact with the public, and at the end of the day, we go home to our families, our children, students of Mount Diablo. It's like I'm giving you one example of the things we do. We fingerprint parent volunteers in our office, HR department. I know we're very careful. We wear gloves. We sanitize everything, but we're really very close to these individuals. They talk to us, you know, like a few inches apart from them. San Ramon School District already stopped that. Are we gonna stop that too? For at least for a little bit? You know, because we have parents scheduled to be fingerprinted. So that's my question. Okay, because we're very close to the public, and that's just an example.
I think those are great questions. I think I'm glad you brought them. My hope and my question to the superintendent, I would love to see us, wherever possible, streamline and delay non-essential services such as rescheduling things like fingerprinting and providing guidelines for our employees that, and encouraging parents like we did with this board meeting, that instead of coming in person, trying to find alternatives where people were able to email. So I would hope that, I would defer to the superintendent, but I would hope we would provide those same type of guidelines and obviously continuing to monitor the situation. At least for me, one factor that was a differentiator is with students, there is such forced contact, and that the students' abilities, especially at our younger grades, to regulate not touching each other and things like that, that was part of my priority for making sure that we closed it for students, but certainly wanting to make sure that our employees are safe as well. But Dr. Martinez, I would turn to you.
So again, part of the process of closing schools gets back to the community spread. And part of that is in the design of, and some people have asked, when we were looking at limits in some districts or some places have said no more than 250. Some people have said no more than 50. And yet schools were still allowed to basically stay open. No direction to close them because of the essential level of service that they were classified as. So again, we have decided to make this decision to not have our students gathering in our process. But I want to again come back to, we don't have clear or more clear data from our county public health that has said we should be quarantined. We should not connect as individuals in small groups, or business should not continue at some level of degree. What I think we need to do, and I appreciate the comments, is take a look at the expectation of work that we have going into next week. We will work with your department leads to address, what potential access our public does have, and when we can limit, maybe we can work to do that within each different department. It's kind of like going out to, we're not telling our maintenance folks they can't go to school sites to fix things. We're not telling our business folks they can't continue to prepare payroll for people. So we have to be cautious about, again, shutting down the district. We're not in that place, but we're working to protect our students first, and we have to be thoughtful about our employees, potential impacts to families. So what I would say is that we'll work with the departments and take a look at what is on the schedule to see what we can potentially adjust or modify.
Thank you very much.
I was just going to say, it's an unusual situation. And my mom, who's 93 years old, is in an assisted living facility. And I got a call yesterday that says I can't go see her for the next 7 days. And my thought was, well, what about the employees that are working there, that are going home and have little kids, and they're coming in? I don't have any kids at home. So there's going to be lots of issues like that don't seem to make sense. And hopefully my mom lasts for another 7 days and I'll get to see her again. But it's a really tough situation, and we're all having to deal with these kind of decisions and just use the best common sense and forethought that we can to deal with it. So we all are going through situations that are difficult, making us stop and think.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to say that some kids are really scared right now, so it's so hard coming home to your family and they tell you have to take a shower right away. You have to sanitize everything because they're scared. They don't want to be infected, and you won't even know if you're the carrier, or just a concerned parent.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes, please, Ms. Durkee.
I know this is not normal protocol or procedure, but it's like we're making comments. But I think the other thing that I'm hearing, I think is important, is that it's okay, you're an employee, it's okay to ask these questions. You don't have to come to a board meeting. I mean, I'm glad you did, but I'm saying you're more than welcome, of course, to do that. But I think, Dr. Martinez is setting the stage and the message that anybody has any concern, speak up, you know, because it's as important that you all feel comfortable and as safe as we can possibly be. You know, we all have these little stories about, you know, risk in our families, et cetera. So, you know, there isn't one size fits all. It's new territory. So I'm hoping that you're all hearing the message, and I'm hearing is that any concerns, bring it up, right? You should feel comfortable to do that.
And we didn't get the nice pronunciation of your last name, but we can do this. It's okay. It's okay. Please. So at this point, I do not have any other public comment cards. I do not have any other emails. If anyone else has a public comment card, I'm happy to have you come up now and submit one. But other than that, board members, do we have any other questions or comments?
I guess I'm just not clear on the timeline for Monday. It sounds like the district is going to be meeting with the different bargaining units with Medea today and the other units on Monday, or what was the timeline there?
I would anticipate that we're striving to connect right after this meeting and set up some times on Monday to meet with the employee associations.
So then in terms of planning the PD that's happening on Monday,
Planning for the PD is set to go with individuals working at their school sites for certificated personnel. It is unfortunate to hear that individuals have not heard from their principals regarding the expectations that they would be receiving because information was provided. So we'll work to make sure that information goes out with a little bit more clarity, even this afternoon, to all of our employees so they have a better perspective about what their Monday looks like. So we will work to do that.
thank you.
With that, I would just like to thank everybody for attending. I'd like to thank my board members for making themselves available. Obviously, this is going to be a difficult time, but you know, our community has shown their dedication to the kids, and we appreciate that. And together we will get through this, and we will come out stronger on the other end. So thank you, stay safe, and our meeting is adjourned.